God bless you, global Christian friend. God bless the American people and government. God bless you, friends around the globe. Let's go back to Luke chapter 6, verse 17, 18, and 19, because there we find one of the most glorious moments of Jesus. We know that the transfiguration is the most glorious moment. We also know that the walking upon the Sea of Galilee was a glorious moment. We know that the raising of Lazarus from the dead was a glorious moment. We know that the multiplication of fish and loaves were glorious moments. But here is a moment that's about to be revealed that is absolutely explosive. And explosive because it's going to show Jesus here as the living dynamo. Like the earth, the planet Earth is a dynamo. You'll find here that this all night in prayer is a most glorious, magnificent, and magnanimous moment in the life of the Savior. Remember, the Bible said that Jesus returned in the power of the Spirit. Well, here is when that power is going to be exuded and see it the way that it is meant to be. 6:17, Luke, he came down with them and stood in the plain. And the company of his disciples and a great multitude of people out of Judea, Jerusalem, from the seacoast of Tyre and Sidon, which came to hear him and be healed of their diseases, and they that were vexed with unclean spirits, and they were healed. Verse 19, that pay attention. And the whole multitude sought to touch him. Think about that statement. If you ever seen a school of fish, how they swarm around a center of mass. Here we see Jesus just like the magnetic line forces of the earth emanating from the planet Earth, protecting the inhabitants of the earth from those strong forces of radiation. Here we see Jesus implementing an exact replica of such a manifestation. The whole multitude sought to touch him, for there went virtue, dunamis, some people call it, power out of him. Power out of him. Think about that statement. I want everybody out there across the world to say power out of him. Power out of him. Just the way that you see the core of iron and nickel on the planet Earth, and the core of hydrogen and helium in the sun and stars emanating from those massive bodies and their magnetic line force or force lines. Well, the same thing is here happening with Jesus, because he is the one that created these things. And mind you, we have said that there is a connection with the magnetic force lines, and here is a there's a connection with the cosmic and universal lines of forces. And here is a prime example of Jesus standing here in the plane upon the earth as the planet Earth zoomed through space, tilted in its degrees, still protecting the inhabitants thereof by the magnetic force lines emanating from the magnetic force and from those forces that are there in the center of the planet Earth. And if you look at the bottom of the oceans of the world, you'll find those stripes running along the seashore or the seafloor of the planet Earth, where the force lines and the moisture beneath the oceans of the world have translated themselves into lines that you can identify as they identify the force lines of the force beneath the oceans of the world. Well, the same thing is occurring here. There went virtue out of him, and he healed them all. He healed them all. This is the Savior of the world in one of his most finest and refined moments. Think about that. The Savior of the world in one of his most refined moments. Now, transfiguration is a whole nother standard, of higher standard, which goes outside the existence of the creation. There's a reason for that as well, too. But here, it did not involve, not directly, Moses and Elijah, but it involved those who were there present at the time, at the beginning of his ministry, after his all-night prayer to God. And these are things that you need to understand, pastors out there across the world. These things will be made known to you by God when you search for these. What did he say? You shall find me when you have sought for me with your whole heart. All right? And once you have done that, you begin to understand the higher knowledge. I no longer have to seek for God, but become a true worshiper. He began to seek for me. And as we said before, we'll say again, when you lay aside those weights which so easily beset you, you will seek those high eternal weights of glory. God bless you, American, and their governments and pastors around the globe.